I just didn't want to go. And it was years ago, but he never forgot. And that's the only reason. He hits me, and they do hit me.
Well, what? He didn't like that you didn't go to his speech at Mar-a-Lago?
Absolutely. He was very upset about it. He was very, very upset about it. But
wow.
I have other things to do, and I couldn't go to his speech, and he never forgot it, and he hits me. And that's the way these guys... By the way, his speech was terrible. I had a friend that went there. They said it was terrible. So I didn't do anything.
Donald, a guy like George Will, his time is gone a long time ago. He's irrelevant. No one reads him. But the issue is you. You're running. You're real. You don't really want to run as a third-party candidate. You say you're a Republican, even though they have a great fear of you. Would you be willing to consider a great man such as Ben Carson as a VP candidate, or is it too soon to ask that question?
Michael, it's too soon to talk. I like Ben Carson. He's a nice guy. I know him. I've actually seen him at some of my places, and he's really a nice guy. He's got a very nice wife. I met them both, and they're nice people. But even Ben Carson, it's like he doesn't have the experience to run something like that. He's a surgeon, and it's different. It's not.
So you say you need someone with a killer instinct like you.
We need a killer who's smart, and not a killer. I know a lot of.
Well, no, I say that in a sports context. I grew up watching boxing matches, as I'm sure you do, because you have them in your hotels. And I was told since I'm a child by my father, the reason one man beats another, he said, Michael, watch that fight. The guy with the killer instinct usually wins. I never understood it till I got older and got punched a few times to understand what the killer instinct meant.
The funny thing with me, it's really, I watch this stuff and I watch these guys and these pundits, and many of them are very good and many of them are just terrible. But the funny thing with me, so I go to the best school, just about the hardest school in the world to get into, the Wharton School of Finance. I did really good. I'm a good student, all that stuff, like a smart guy. You can't be a dummy and get in. But you go into that school. I come out, I build a tremendous real estate empire. I started in Brooklyn. My father taught me a lot, but, it was a small company. And now it's a massive, I have some of the greatest assets in the world. I write a book called Trump, The Art of the Deal. It's the #1 selling business book of all time, or very close. Somebody will say, oh, somebody else. So I always like to go, but just about. I think it's the #1, but it's like just about the #1 selling book of all time. I do a television show. Everyone says, oh, the show will never make it. 15 copies of The Apprentice. They've all failed. Everybody copied it. They'd all failed. It's still going. They renewed. They're begging me. They would love me not to do this. But I'm doing it. I told them I'm doing it. But it's now 14 seasons of The Apprentice, one of the most successful shows on television. A tremendous success. You remember the first season, it was like one of the biggest shows ever. That was a show that was supposed to never make it. All these copies, Martha Stewart copied, everybody copied it, and they didn't make it. Okay. And then I read, I shouldn't be on the same stage with some governor who is a nothing, or a senator who's a nothing. I'm not saying that a senator is nothing or a governor is. I'm just saying some of these people shouldn't be on the stage. But I sort of laugh. I build up this tremendous company, some of the great real estate assets of the world. The television show's a big hit. The book is a big hit. Other books are big hits, too, by the way. You go to the best college, and you do great, and then all of a sudden you're not supposed to be on a stage, and you have other people that frankly can't shine your shoes, and it's okay for them to be on.
Donald, you and I see the world the same way. When I supported you the other day on this show, I was shocked that low-life writer at the National Review, whose name I don't remember, wrote such a horrible thing about you and said that your father gave you your empire, gave you your money, and he was a slumlord. That is such crap. I happen to know that your father built some of the finest middle-class apartment blocks in New York, both in Brooklyn and Queens. I know it for a fact because one of my relatives lived in them. They were beautiful buildings. Why do they do such things?
Well, because, the National Review's going out of business, in my opinion. I think it's doing very badly. William F. Buckley, I knew him. He was great. I was a young guy. He was a much older guy, but he was a great guy. And and he must be spinning in his grave. They have a bunch of lowlifes over there. And the other thing they love, like when Carl Icahn or Kravis or Leon Black, any of the great business people, when they use the bankruptcy laws, they throw something in a bankruptcy, they don't even write stories about it. If I use that, if I do that, oh, Trump went bankrupt. I never went bankrupt, but they always love to say that was the same lowlife, the guy that wrote for the net. No wonder the National Review has no power anymore. It's disgusting.
Well, they've attacked me for years, and I understand that they're run by these Lilliputians, but it's one thing to not like someone. It's another thing to outright lie and say your father was a slumlord. I took offense at that, and he wasn't my father.
Well, you know what? My father was a terrific guy, and he built middle-income housing and low-income housing, and he did a great job for a lot of people, and he was a really good person, and he taught me a lot. And frankly, he did me a favor because he didn't want me to go to Manhattan, and he never went to Manhattan. And I said, Pop, I want to go to Manhattan. I want to build those big buildings. He said, son, that's not our league. We don't want to do that. It's not our league. And I went. And, that was another thing. I guess I can add that to the book, and I can add that to, all the other things. But, look, our country is in serious, serious trouble. And, my theme is very simple. Make America great again. We can make it great. We've got to take back our jobs from China. And I don't even mean all of them. We have to take back some of this stuff that's going on. You can't buy... If you want to buy a television... I just ordered 4,000 televisions for a big project I'm doing someplace. And I order televisions all the time. I have Doral in Miami. I've always... where they come from? South Korea. Now, we protect South. They're making a fortune off us, by the way. If you want a television set that's made in America, try finding one, okay?
I used to have an Emerson when I was a kid. Where'd it go?
Different, right? But now South Korea bought that company probably. They're all out in South Korea. So, although Sony is still in Japan. So we have a choice, South Korea or Japan. So I get bids, and all the bids, I've bought thousands and thousands of these things over the years, but so I understand where they come from. But you have LG, you have Sanyo, you have this, that. They're all South Korea. And I'm saying to myself, wouldn't it be nice if we made televisions? I actually tell my people, is there a company that makes televisions in the United States? Get the bids, and they're all from South Korea. Now, when South Korea has a problem, they're making a fortune off us, right? When South Korea has a problem with North Korea, where the guy starts rearing his head and he wants to, starts throwing around the nuke word and everything else, we immediately send our ships over. We get nothing. They don't pay us anything. Anything.
We get nothing. We don't get a jar of kimchi from them in exchange.
Hey, Michael, Saudi Arabia makes $1 billion a day. $1 billion a day. Think of it. $1 billion a day. When they have problems, and watch Saudi, I was the one that predicted the war in Iraq. I was the one that said it's going to be a disaster. I did that in 2004. In fact, it was a big article. They just reprinted it from Reuters in
Donald,
2004.
Can you stay with us to the top of the hour, or do you have to go?
Yeah, I can. I will for you.
You know why, Donald? Because I have to make some money for my the wonderful people who support this show, or else I'm out of business. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back with the greatest, Donald Trump, right here on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Hey, our Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. The only company I trust for wealth insurance, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. I can talk with Donald Trump for the rest of the weekend, right through Father's Day, but we have only a minute, and I want him to conclude with what he wants to say. Let's throw it right back to Donald Trump. Donald, what do you have to say to the millions of people who listen to the show and hear you as a leader who does not blame the American people for what's going on, but blame an incompetent, divisive government for what's going on?
Well, first of all, Mike, it's great to be with you, Michael, and really is. And I'm serious about this. I'm giving up a lot by doing it. These politicians give up nothing. They're all talk. They're no action. They're never going to bring us to the promised land. They don't know what they're doing. And we're in a bubble. We're going to have a problem like you've never seen before. We have to take our jobs back from China. We have to take our jobs back from Mexico and all the other places that are just ripping us. So I'll do it, and they understand I'll do it. The other side knows. I deal with them all the time. I beat them all the time. So,
Donald, Mexico is now deporting more illegal aliens than the United States. I love your idea of the Great Wall. Donald Trump, thank you so much, and good luck. I hope you do run. This is the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
We don't have all the facts, but we do know that, once again, innocent people were killed in part because someone who wanted to inflict harm had no trouble getting their hands on a gun. Let's be clear. At some point, we as a country will have to reckon with the fact that this type of mass violence does not happen in other advanced countries. It doesn't happen in other places with this kind of frequency. And it is in our power to do something about it.
Well, the bodies were picked up off the floor already. He was attacking guns with a tear coming down his face, the crocodile tear. Then he dashed off to Hollywood, raising money at $32,000 a head. Yeah, oh yeah. Soon after crying over the murders, he was raising money, $33,000 at Tyler Perry's Beverly Hills home. And then he sat down to break bread with, guess who? Oh, yeah, Katzenberg and Spielberg, as I said. When I say Katzenberg, Matzenberg, Ratzenberg, and Spielberg, I ain't kidding. They're the ones who gave us all the violence, aren't they? They're the ones who put these images in the heads of so many millions around the world, don't they? And yet they talk against guns, don't they? Don't they talk against guns and against the evil, stupid, geeky American who needs a gun? Yeah, don't they? Doesn't Katzenberg, Matzenberg, Ratzenberg, and Spielberg do that for a living? Sean Penn, Mr. Anti-Gun, Mr. Peacenik, does a movie, a flop called Gunman. Can you imagine? Then the next day he's giving a speech against guns. So don't tell me that there's not a lot of blame to go around for this travesty and tragedy in South Carolina. Everyone's hearts are broken over this. Everyone, black and white, know that. They know that. They know that this psychopath who did this was a coward and evil, soulless evil. You want to say racist? Say racist. You want to say act of terror? It is an act of terror. I don't have a problem with those words. And there's a lot of people to blame, a lot of blame to go around. Many of you blame conservatives, many of you blame liberals, many will blame the president for his rhetoric. Okay, blame all you want. But 9 beautiful people were slaughtered like sheep in a church in the United States of America in 2015. So who do you blame? Who do you blame? Who do you blame? And how do you stop the next maniac from doing such a thing? Well, the first thing you do is you have Loretta Lynch, as Attorney General, get up today, tonight, right now. She should have done it already. And say, I want to be very clear. Any outside agitator who tries to cross state lines into South Carolina to promote a riot in any way will be arrested on the spot by federal marshals. There is an anti-riot act, by the way. It was put in the 60s when we had the same kind of helter-skelter going on in this country. And I am surprised that this peace-loving administration has not invoked the anti-riot act yet, instead of blaming guns and the American people. That's all Obama does. Blames the Second Amendment, blames the American people, and then rushes off to a fundraiser that 855-407-2810. And Mrs. Obama, I'm sorry. I know we're not supposed to say these things, but when I saw a picture of her on a shopping trip with the daughters and the mother-in-law, I got so angry the other day. I don't know how to contain. I got so angry the other day. Can you imagine if George Bush's family had gone on a shopping trip to Rome on Air Force One? That's to start with. That's number one. Ask me what all of the Republicans would be saying about it. Or if George Bush's family had flown to Rome on a junket like this with a mother-in-law living in the White House like a squatter. Tell me what the media would be saying. Why, Mrs. Bush has no right bringing a mother-in-law in the house, blah, 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 people's expense, blah, blah, blah. You haven't heard a word, have you, from the toe dust in the media. And then the daughters, I'm not allowed to say a word. I, as an American, I was embarrassed. She got off the plane with ripped jeans. It's unbelievable to me. They have no sense of protocol. No one dares say a word to them like, listen, darling, you may like your ripped jeans at the private school you go to, but you can't wear them getting off Air Force One in Italy. It's an embarrassment to the country. But no one said that. The mother didn't say it. She was busy lecturing at a Muslim school the day before in London, looking at all of the headscarves saying, you're us, I'm them, you're me, I'm you. You look like me, I look like you. I wonder what Muslims thought about her daughter getting off an airplane with ripped jeans. I'm not allowed to mention any of this, huh? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to the toe dust in the media. So there's a lot of dissension right now in America, a lot of confusion, a lot of anger, a lot of rage. People are just at the boiling point. And this lunatic picks the weakest link in the African-American community. This coward, this low-life coward, wants a race war. Why didn't he pick up a gun with his crack of friends and go into the hood? and start screaming racial epithets and see if he can take someone out. I didn't see him do that. He didn't go to Baltimore. He didn't go to Baltimore with his gun, the big shot. Look who he picked, innocent Christians. As I say, this country is made of granite. There's granite in the back